everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast. And today on the show, I got to my right, Coach Tony Perkins, and hopefully we're going to get Coach Mulder in here, Kevin Mulder from PBR, Missouri. He's going to be joining us in the broadcast hopefully later as we move along here, Coach.
Great.
How you doing?
Doing great.
You look good.
Oh, yeah, right. Thanks for having me.
Hey, folks, YBMcast always powered by Game 7 Baseball. Game7baseball.com. Get your team registered for an upcoming tournament. You got 2022 coming up. Great places to go. Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Illinois. Got some stuff down in Branson at Ballparks of America. Great venues here in the city of cities of St. Louis, St. Charles metro area. Going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to our 13U and 14U invitational tournaments, or elite championship tournaments, I should say. If you got some time, get on game7baseball.com, register your team, check out the tournaments, get yourself in there. Dave and Dave, big shout out, guys. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk a little baseball. What do you say, Coach?
Sure.
We're looking at some player rankings here from PBR, and one of the things that I thought was interesting was, and we were talking before we started, is the kids that are actually staying in the state of Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And that's big, I think. I think that's big for any state school, correct?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, and you're right. There's been a big push to, I think, like from Missouri State, and Missouri State's pretty much always done that. But trying to lock down the borders, I think Coach Drinkowitz from Mizzou kind of started that with the football, and is competing with, St. Louis kids. And after a while, you look around and you see kids, Bolton going to Ole Miss, or going to Oklahoma, or, Arkansas, and all those kinds of places. He raises questions. It's like, why are they not staying home? But I think Coach Beezer's doing a good job right now, locking people down, offering kids, and getting them to stay home.
And, as we're looking at the class here, we're going to start, we're just take a look at some of these seniors here. And of course, there's some big names going, the top two, Reese Robinette out of Kennett, Missouri. I mean, he's in the Boot Hill South there. That makes a lot of sense. Going to Arkansas, that doesn't.
Yeah, it's not too far.
No. And Carson Milbrandt out of Liberty, right-handed pitcher, going to Vanderbilt. I guess that
nothing wrong with that one either.
Do you call that RMU now?
Yes.
I mean, they just bring pitchers, mm-hmm. and my goodness.
Yeah, and then they make money. Yep.
But then you look down here and you start seeing Zach Stewart, young man out of Lebanon, Missouri, going to Missouri State, and then Jack Mosh, Aiden. I know Heberly, I would think. Your shortstop, Jake McCutcheon, Missouri State. The two above them going to Mizzou. Aiden Haynes, Mizzou. Tyler Charlton, Missouri State. And you got to look at St. Louis University there too. Jack Dumont going to SLU. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these kids staying in state. I think that's impressive.
Yep.
And then, and then we were talking a little bit earlier, another one of your players. Geez, no wonder you guys win a lot.
You get good players.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? That's the way that works, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty spoiled.
2023 grads, Brett Norfleet just gave a verbal to Mizzou. That's big, isn't it?
Yeah, he's the first one in that class, and going two sports, he's a special talent. I mean, being 6'7", and a lot of those times they're pretty goofy as far as their coordination goes. He's athletic as could be. He's playing football as a tight end, and he's going to be pitching for him. The only problem that I was talking to his dad, and his kid is the kid himself quite a bit about it, but during the summer there'll be no baseball for him. It's football. Mm-hmm. So that's part of the deal, because Coach Beezer and Coach Drinkowitz or somebody from his staff got together and say, well, are we going to do this?
How does that work?
How are we going to formulate this? Who's going to give him what monies and stuff like that? And they had a meeting with them, and then they had a Zoom meeting with Brett and his family, and they liked what they heard. And, you know, I'm happy, and happy for the family too, because an hour and a half drive is a lot better than some of those others.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it makes it, and I think that's one of the things to me that should be attractive is you can drive to the campus. It's, you know,
It's convenient.
it is, and you're not, you know, trying to fly everywhere.
Right.
And I think that's huge. I really do. And in that 2023 class, again, Will Libbert, young man out of Blair Oaks, Dan Bjorn Lindbergh, good pitcher, going to Mizzou. Braden Hemmer out of Columbia Hickman, going to Mizzou. Jack Holubowski, you were talking about him, the kid out of Marquette.
Yeah, Holubowski and Peer and Norfleet are all on the same summer team with the prospects. And so I've got to see them play quite a bit, and it's a nice group.
You know, nice group. Nice group. And you know what? That makes a huge impact. You're going there, you're going to be playing with kids you know.
Yeah.
I think that makes an impact, doesn't it?
Yeah, more comfortable. You know, when guys roll in and don't know a soul, there's always that trepidation or a little bit of a nervousness that goes on, but it don't take long before you get to know the guys and guys you hang out with and running with. And baseball people hang out with baseball people most of the time. I mean, they're living together, number one, and they're all close together and they rely on each other. They have the same schedules, you know, so, and then they kind of rely on each other to keep keep them on the way they should be acting.
You hope, right?
That's the key, is the decisions that you make as a young college kid. You know, you got to make the right ones if you want to be a paid player.
So I think that this is really an interesting look at how that, and then I think I saw down here, I thought he was a junior, I'm pretty sure. Bryson Naputi, kid out of CBC, I think is Mizzou as well. But you go down through this, and I'm looking down through here, the top kids, you know, if you through the top 50, Mizzou, Missouri State, Missouri State, Missouri State, Missouri State, Missouri State. And we talked about Caden Bogenpole, kid out of Jackson. Good ball player.
Yeah.
And you got a couple of the kids, Springfield Catholic. These are some of the smaller schools, too. Springfield Catholic, I think, is either 3A or 4A.
Yeah, they're smaller, but they sure do well.
Yes.
It's not weird to see them in the Final Four.
Right. Here's a Hartville, this young man, Brody McNeil. These are, you know, these aren't the household names. Webster Groves right here. William Zara out of Webster Groves going to Missouri State. Trenton Roller, Blue Springs South. So, you know, these are might not be people we're aware of and whatnot. And as you said, Caden Peer, the kid out of CBC. These are interesting as we're looking at the whole scope of how Missouri is stacking up. And it'll be interesting to see how Missouri State, how Mizzou, especially Mizzou in the SEC, how these kids filter in the competition level, how well will they compete on that national stage? And I think that'll bode well for Missouri high school players in the future, yes?
Yeah, I think what's changed is they're in the SEC now, and what they do down south, they get into those kids a lot earlier. And I mean, they're talking to parents and kids that are in 8th grade. I mean, and I don't like that, but I was down in Atlanta one time, and I got to know the Ole Miss guys because my son Nick played there for a couple of years. I said, Carl Lafferty's there. And I go, Laff, what are you doing here? He goes, it was an 8th grade game. They had the 8th grade summer. Oh he goes, I'm recruiting. I'm looking. These guys are from my neck in Mississippi. I need to get into them as early as possible. And he goes, Cliff's over at the other place. Oh, you're kidding me. That was a long time ago, but that's the first time I, realistically experienced big-time schools at that age.
Right.
And you'll see Tony Vitello from Tennessee, he's rolling around in that age. It's the head coach, he's around those young kids and getting to know their parents and, he's working.
Wow.
So now, I mean, I think they're starting to get in. The first thing you got to do is you got to identify, who those good players are and project. Are they going to be, if they're 81-ish, ninth grade, left-handed, maybe by the time he's a senior, he's 87, 88, that's good. I mean, that'll play.
Right.
But you got to identify that, and you also need to figure out, they look at mom and dad, and grandpa.
Sure.
If grandpa's 6'6", they like that.
That makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And that's a shame, but it is. When you talk about Tim Lincecum or some shorter guys that had a lot of success doing that, but, I've talked to some pro guys, and they said, we won't draft a kid that's 5'10". They'll break down. That's their attitudes. And so they want guys 6'6", 6'9", somewhere in there, which is a shame, but that's where it's at because they're out there. You just got to find them.
I think it's interesting you bring that up because I do some research and I always look around and one of the things in one of the other schools here, and I haven't seen their name as much in some of this. You will later. They always kind of find those places and you see the school name down in some of these lists, and that's Central Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
UCM. And I was looking, they were in the championship game last year against Wingate. There's a young man played Francis Howell Central, played with Justin when he was young, whatnot, Eric Webb.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Webb, was breaking records.
Yeah, he could hit.
Flat out rake.
Always tried to get him on my summer team. I couldn't get it done.
Right? Because, and he's just good. I think it was his junior year, he hit 414 and, has all kinds of UCM records and whatnot. He's 5'8".
Mm-hmm.
He's not a big kid.
Fire plug.
Yeah. And, can he get to that next level? And that's the thing. You see a player
they're
like
gonna
that.
Take you.
Right? And that's the thing.
Look at Altuve.
Will he have an opportunity? I think so. I think, his 360 something, I think, is his batting average career at UCM.
It's good.
I don't care. That's good.
When I talk to a lot of these college coaches, it's like they got to wait until the big dogs are done. They have a wish list or a board, and they know who they want, but they know that they're not going to get that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Gutton told me, he goes, when he was recruiting my son, Nick, the catcher, he goes, I won't get him. He'll go, some of one of those schools down south will scoop him up, and they like them big frame catchers. And that's exactly what happened, which kind of surprised me because, being a dad in that situation, I'd like to have him a little closer if I could have.
Yeah.
But like, your Division IIs, Division IIIs, NAIAs, JUCOs, they got to wait, and then, JUCO guys, they get those drop down guys quite a bit, guys that don't cut it or are unhappy or get in trouble or whatever that problem they have. And then they drop down to JUCO, and then that makes them great because they get those good players, all of them get those kind of guys, and that's when they can compete. But they got to wait. They got to wait till the Ole Misses, the Mississippi States, all them, get done. And then they say, okay, who's left? Who's the best of the rest? Let's go.
Right.
And that's Central Missouri does a good job of that.
Yes, they do. And it's evident by how successful they are.
Oh, yeah.
Year in and year out.
It doesn't matter who's the coach. Crenshaw's good, but yeah, Brad Hill was there before. They have had good coaches that come through there. Stu Rogers was before him. And they did, they do a great job.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing how Mizzou does on that national stage, how Missouri State does, where are these players, what's being produced locally in the state, how that progresses and how these teams are competing long-term in the SEC, in the Missouri Valley, on the national stage, getting into that postseason look.
Yeah, it's a keep up with the Joneses. Mizzou does have plans to put in a new field.
Do they?
Yeah, and if you go to these other fields, I've been fortunate enough to be in a lot of these D1 places. some of those facilities are just so beautiful and so awesome. I'm talking about Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss, and some of them. I mean, you walk in and just your mouth drops open, and it's like, man, this is great. I mean, and it's just luxury.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing that, and kids are going on their unofficial visits, and then they roll through that place and they look at that place like, man, this would be a great place to play.
Yeah.
You walk into a locker room and they say there's a little another locker room with about 10 lockers in there. And they say, well, that's where our pro guys come when they work out so they can stay away from the players. They have their own little locker room.
Jeez.
I mean, and that's true. And it's just because they when they're off season, they come in, they go back to college and they work out in there. And so they keep them away from the players so the players don't bug them. They have their own little deal off to the side. And that's what happens down south. I mean, that's true.
Well, and Missouri State, they're playing in Hammonds.
Yeah, that's beautiful too. That's
and
minor league park.
Minor league park. I mean, it doesn't get too much better.
No,
I mean,
you're right.
My goodness.
But you got to look at the indoor, and you got to look at all
their other facilities,
aesthetics. Luxury boxes. I mean, how's the alumni base? Are they, people that are shooting money into these big schools? And when you got money, you can do things.
That's it. It'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to seeing the next couple of years how those teams fare nationally. I think it'll be interesting. I really do. Let's talk a little more local. Let's talk some GAC.
Okay.
Let's we're rolling toward this. We talked. We've done our kind of early season previews of. We went through each district and the district champions who we thought might be repeating and whatnot. And there's a lot of schools with some kids returning. And I think, going back through the GAC, I think there's going to be a huge, my goodness, the Class 6. I want to ask you this. How do you think North Point coming in, pulling the kids, how do you think that's going to affect Timberland, Liberty? I think it's only Holt, right? Where are those kids? Where are they pulling from, Coach?
The word on the street is after this year, Holt might lose a lot of enrollment. All I know is in the conference, per se, everybody's got an arm that can shove. And
I don't think it'll be this year. It's not this year, right?
Right. I don't think so.
Right.
And North Point, I don't know what class they'll be. I mean, we will not play them. We rarely play Liberty. If we play Liberty, that's in a tournament because they're smaller. And Timberland is bouncing back and forth. And Hal North, they're kind of bouncing back. I think I saw our football schedule, and to me it looked like Hal North was getting moved back into the big school one because they were not in this last year.
Well, last year they were Class 6.
Hal North?
Hal North was.
I'm talking about conference. They were not in the big conference.
No. They weren't. They were, Hal North was in the Central.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I think they're switching back and forth. It's all projection numbers, and I don't care. I know where I'm at.
Yeah, because you got, the South Division is you, Hal Central, Zumwalt West, Troy Buchanan, Holt, and Timberland.
Right.
And that doesn't look like that's going to change.
Not this year.
Right.
I think
the following year could change. Yeah. Okay. So, and then honestly, I think Troy Buchanan should be right there again. West, Eric Goff's reloading.
Got Whistler, Mizzou.
Yep.
Lefty's good.
Exactly. And he's got some young arms there. A lot of people coming up when we looked at that. Timberland, I think they got Hackman still sitting there. That's going to be a tough one. And I think they've got some kids. They played pretty well last year, didn't they, Timberland?
Yeah, they were good. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to think about, I think Holt's going to be okay. They got a real good young arm. It's sophomore, Ettinger. He's really good, and they got a catcher named Laster's pretty good. They're going to be good. I mean, the GAC South is no joke. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, you got to bring your lunch.
Yeah, you got that right. And you got to play them twice in 1 week, back to back, and that's rough. And it's hard to win our conference. I mean, you can't run the slate. We were fortunate we just lost one game in a conference last year, and that was very nice. But most times you're going to lose 2, 3. I mean, 3 losses, you get 10 games from our conference.
Right.
If you lose 3 games, a lot of times you could tie for the conference championship. I mean, not a lot of years that's the way it's been. But it's hard because there's so many good players in St. Charles County. It's just crazy. And they're all working so hard, you know. I mean, they're all club guys. They all got, you know, P3 training, or they're going to ace pitching with Adam Jansen. They're all, you know, training almost year round, which I don't like. I mean, I like giving them time off. But, you know, that they're serious about baseball.
That you can't admit that's their decision. That's what they choose to do, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't like specializing, but that's what it is.
You got Hal Central got a couple of good arms this year as well coming back.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, like you said, you know, 3 or 4 losses, you could still probably win the conference.
There's always that game you lose or you're not supposed to lose, and you do. That happens every year.
Because that goes to, you know, the districts and how those things then are set up and what that's going to look like again this year. And so those losses, they make an impact on your seeding district as well, correct?
Yes, for sure.
So that makes an impact then.
Yeah, that's what my players, or all players, don't realize. I mean, like, you know, we lost a game in the Midwest Classic, or lost 2 games in the Midwest Classic, lost 2 games in Troy. You know, and coaches kind of play that down sometimes, and I do myself, but realistically, those hurt. Every L is big time.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to rack up as many W's as you can to walk in that district seeding meeting so they can do nothing but seed you 1 or 2, or, you know, and if you don't get those W's, it's a hard road to go from there.
And it is, because then you may be playing somebody you really don't want to in that first round.
Absolutely.
And then you're looking at your arms. What are you doing? How you do it? And the decisions become that much more glaring, correct?
Yeah, I don't think people realize how hard that is on a coach as far as who you're going to throw, when you're going to throw them, and, you know, the whole puzzle thing, putting it together and trying to make it right so that you get your guys best position to win. You know, that's why a lot of guys will skip their ace maybe and they'll say our best chance to win district tournament was not to throw him.
Right.
And then 2, 3, 4 times I'm aware of, you know, that person lost and their best guy didn't get the chance to throw at all. But that was their thought process, was what can I do, you know, to put us in the best place to win district tournament and move out. So I don't know. It is a gamble. It's
tough.
It's starting to be tougher now. And now it's 8 teams in there where, you know, I always threw my first guy first if I was a 1 or 2 seed. But now when you got one versus 8, it's a gamble if you don't throw your guy.
Because you don't.
But if you got 3 or 4 guys, it'll make things a little easier.
Yeah, it does. It does. I remember, you know, it's interesting because, you know, it is that gamble to throw this person against here and there, and what are you doing and how do you do that? And, you know, and you've seen it every year. And I think it's personally myself, it's fodder because everybody, you can look back at 2020, right? Hindsight 2020. Making a decision in the moment is one of the most difficult things. I think it's, you know, and a coach's responsibility is being able to make that tough decision in those moments. That's what you're there for, and you make the best decision you can, and you ride it, and that's just what you have to do.
Funny story, Coach Goff, who's a good friend of mine. He's the head coach of Zumwalt West. He called me up one day and he said, "Perk, when did the game slow down for you?" And I kind of had to step back and think about it a little bit, but after you've been in the game for a little bit, the game does slow down. Mm-hmm. And you're anticipating plays. You're anticipating, am I going to bunt, 2 batters ahead of time? Are you hitting and running? Are you stealing? Are first and thirds, what are we doing? And it's not a spur of the moment decision. I mean, you
see it.
Yeah, you're thinking ahead a little bit more than some guys, Young guys I was the same way when I was young. I was just all over the place and just very energetic, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I was going to get after it and be positive.
And I think that's an interesting point you make, Coach, because how many times have you seen those same situations? You just, it's that movement of, I've been here, and you make that decision, and you're working on that percentage of, I've seen this work this many times. Mm-hmm. That's the way I'm going to go.
That's the best piece of advice I give my teams is like in big games, district championship games, sectional games, semifinal games, state championship games is hey, big games like this, high pressure situations. I know it. I'm uptight. You're going to be uptight. I said, we're going to make errors. We're going to make mistakes. I said, the key is make less than they do.
Right.
If we can make less mistakes than they do, I said, don't worry about it, man. Just get the next one. And if we can get through that and battle through that and try and limit the damage as much as we possibly can, they're going to make mistakes too, especially if they're chasing. If they're chasing runs and they start trying to do too much, that's a good thing for us. That's why it's important to get up early.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Y'all are listening, right? So, and then you got down in the Central, Zumwalt East. I think they've got some good kids. Their center fielder, Jackson Carter. They got the third baseman, Eric. I'm trying to remember Eric's name. He plays for the Pirates organization this summer. He played very well. He's a good low 80s arm. And
I don't see those guys.
No, right. Mm-hmm. But I've seen that. You've got, I think East is going to be good again. I'm not quite sure. I think South lost a few kids. I haven't seen how they're retooling yet.
They got two guys that were second team All-State coming back, Peyton Blair and Brady O'Brien.
Yep.
And of course, they were Final Four teams, and usually Final Four teams get more All-State guys just to reward them for that.
So you got South there, I think is going to be, I think East and South, I don't know, Zumwalt North has been down for a little while.
It wasn't too long ago that was pretty good.
Yeah.
A couple 3 years ago, they had a nice run.
Yep. And it's been a little bit, I don't know Hal North, again, what Coach Donahue has there.
I don't know much.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing.
Is Liberty and are they in the Central?
They're in the Central as well. And
they got Seth Bennis. He's on that same team with North.
No, Seth is on. That's Timberland.
Yeah. Okay.
Timberland's got Seth Bennis.
No, I think he's at Liberty.
Is he at Liberty?
Pretty confident in that one. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, because I know his dad had him. Yeah, he's Liberty.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's 88.
Yeah. Seth's good. I thought he was Timberland. I thought so. We'll see. Well, but Liberty wins. They lost some kids, but they had a few seniors on that team. I think they're going to be okay. I think they'll be right back there. Nick Clements, I think he does a good job with that squad there. They're playing.
He's gone.
Is he gone?
Yeah, he took a job at First Form. He left teaching and coaching. Mark Reeder from Parkway North is the new head coach at Liberty.
I guess I'll get a brush up here a little bit, huh? I haven't really got into it. I just started putting the – I was looking at this. So Clements is out.
Yeah.
And went to First Form. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Scott Brown from Beyond did the same thing. He's working for First Form too.
Wow.
Quite the facility. If you ever want to check it out, it's pretty nice.
It's pretty cool. I like their supplements. I use First Form.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's huge. They got stock cars in that place.
Do they really?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Scott Brown took me and my son Ryan took me on a tour of it. It's really impressive.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Then you got the smaller schools probably don't know too much about.
Not too much.
But Orchard Farm, St. Charles over there. St. Charles West, I think Coach Allen, I think he's going to be just fine. He's got Josh Newell coming back.
I got Coach Allen speak at our state clinic. He's going to talk about outfield. I'm juiced about that.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Good. I like him. He's a good dude. Got a lot going on there. I think he's doing a really good job at St. Charles West. These smaller schools, I think, producing. He's got some good talent, too.
Yeah, it's neat that when we do that prep camp for our incoming ninth graders, all the head coaches there. So I would not have gotten to know Coach Allen at all if we didn't have that, Mm-hmm. And so you get to be around all the head coaches and you get to talk to them and get a feel of them and see exactly how hard they work. And I think New Allen really is knowledgeable about the game, and I'm really excited to have him, get active in our association it's going to be good.
Yeah. And I think that's a great thing. There's really good young coaches in the GAC. We're talking about these because I've got Coach coming back for GAC preview along with Coach Goff. He's coming back. I got an email from the Francis Howell Central coach coming on for the GAC preview. So we're hoping to get new Coach Allen back on. We had him last year, Coach Hill. I like to get as many coaches into this and talk about the GAC from perspectives, all these different schools. I think it's great. I think the GAC is a really good conference. I think each conference itself, I think they're very competitive.
I agree.
At their levels, right?
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun that way. We're gonna see some good stuff. It'll be fun.
Do you want to talk about state big schools?
Let's do it.
I'm trying to be quick.
Go ahead.
I ran through the all-state list, Missouri High School State all-state list, and I wrote down all the guys that were first team, second team, or honorable mention. And it was kind of interesting to me to see that a lot of the guys that made it that are really good, I'm talking about like Liberty and Liberty North out of Kansas City, they got guys, numerous guys that were all state that are coming back. Rockbridge was real young. They got a bunch of guys coming back. Staley's got some guys that are coming back. Staley's always good though, and then in St. Louis, you got Breedenbach, who's one of the best hitters I've seen around from Marquette. Nas is going to Miami from CBC, and you got Whistler from Zumwalt West, and you got my two kids, McCutcheon and Sissel, both had honorable mention. Those are, to me, that's the group right now that I can see top 5, 6. With Zumwalt West in there because they got second state last year, so they'll get mentioned for sure, I would say. But Liberty should probably be number 1. I wouldn't. Liberty North was the best team we saw last year besides Zumwalt West. They're really, really good, and they were really young too.
Right.
So I think those two schools are going to make a run in Kansas City side. Staley, like I said, Rockbridge is going to probably be one of the better ones in the middle of the state. So, and then over here, I don't know. That just remains to be seen.
I think it'll be interesting to see how St. John's Vianney. They got a lot of young talent coming in. We'll see how they reload. I think that's going to be interesting. Yeah,
they got a new coach too, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I think the influx of talent is unbelievable there.
Yeah, don't sleep on Canavan at DeSmet.
Right.
He's a new coach.
That's right.
There.
Tim went went back to DeSmet. I think that's big for that program.
Yeah, he's a baseball guy.
Yeah,
it's not good for anybody else.
We got to get Tim back on the show. He was on. We had him on the show a few times. Dude. Yeah, we need to get Tim back on. So, but I like that. I forgot about that. He's at DeSmet. Yep.
First day after he got the job, him and his wife were out there picking weeds on the infield.
You gotta love that.
Serious. That's good stuff.
So you're looking at.
That's all big
Rockbridge, schools. Liberty North.
Yeah.
I think you got to put yourself in there along with West. And
I don't think we're in the top 4. I only have one senior position player going. He's pretty good.
Yes, he is.
But my younger ones are pretty doggone good too. And they've got experience as well. So because I, gave them some experience last year. But, I don't think I should be in the top 4-ish, with Liberty North, Rockbridge, Zumwalt West, Staley. Yeah.
Would you put CBC in that top 5?
Top 10. And it's usually top 10. Yeah. They got arms.
Yeah, they do. How about Lindbergh, their coach, coming back? Do you think they're going to be back in that mix?
I don't know. They got the one guy going to Mizzou, and D. Scott's a great coach, and he's a good friend of mine. I really enjoy him. He plays in our Midwest Classic.
They were pretty good last year. They had a good run.
They'll compete.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. And, then you look down at in the Southwest, I think you have Nixa, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know much about them yet. We're going to be looking at some of that and bringing that. But Nixa and what was the Kickapoo?
Kickapoo.
Kickapoo's always right there.
Ozark.
Yep.
Willard.
Willard's in the 5. They're class 5, and I think Willard's going to be right back there again.
Joplin will be all right. He's good. Coach Wolf's a good dude there too.
So I think in the Southwest, that's some of the things that I want to really. I know we talk a lot about, which it's pertinent. We're up here, but some of those schools down there, that they're good as they're very good.
They don't travel as much. I mean, we used to play them. I used to make a run down to Joplin, or we used to play kickpoo when Terry Casper was the head coach, and I don't hardly see those guys. That's why it's hard for me to, voice an opinion. We've got some people that are active down there in our coach association. That helps a lot, but St. Louis people don't get to play them very much. Rockbridge and Hickman and Battle, because they're in the middle state, they'll get St. Louis and they'll get Kansas City and they'll get, Joplin. But a lot of those guys, Springfield, I don't see them out.
And this is what we want to do too here, Coach. I love these conversations. Comment below. Put your top 5 in there. We'd love to hear what people have to say.
Yeah,
if you got a comment, put it in there. What's your top 5? Where are you at in the state? What are you looking at? Smash the like button. Boom, boom, boom. Hit the like button. Subscribe, hit the dinger, because that's what we do. Dingers are good. As Mitch always likes to say, dingers and doubles.
Yeah.
That gets your your slugging percentage up.
Yep.
Always love that kind of stuff. But I think this is this great conversation. We'd love to hear from what other people's perspective is, because we got some interesting stuff. We're going to be bringing this conversation as we move into the GAC preview. What's that going to be? Start looking at. Hopefully, we'll get Kevin Mulder back here and start looking at his rankings as he moves towards that.
He's good.
His preseason rankings. And
I'll know more after our state meeting, January 14th. I mean, that's when we get all those rankings, and there'll be guys from Springfield. There'll be guys from Joplin.
So you got to come on right after that, Coach. You got to get on the show.
Yeah. I'll get on there. I mean, I'd like to have they release them like a week later or something like that, but I'd like to have them all from class 1 to class 6. That would be better information. I'll have class 6.
So we'll get exclusives. So, hey, we're looking forward to it, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a good season. I think it's going to be another really good season.
I'm always excited.
Yeah. In the state of Missouri, it's going to be really good. You're headed out to Arizona. Go and talk with the national. I'd love to hear what happens in that. So when you get back,
pretty cool.
Maybe we'll get you on.
Just trying to get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fun.
That's good stuff. Coach, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Folks, everybody, again, comment below. Want to hear from you. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. You pitchers, keep throwing strikes. You hitters, hit them where they ain't. That's always good advice. I think so. And we'll see you next time.